Hello? Yep. Oh, there we go. Okay, with the time being 6:30, I will open this meeting and start with our acknowledgement of country. Council acknowledges that we meet on the traditional country of the Paramankangana people. We pay our respects to ancestors and elders past and present as the custodians of this ancient and beautiful land. Together we'll care for this place for the generations to come, and in this context, the decisions we make should be guided by the principle that nothing we do should decrease our children's ability to live on this land. We don't have any apologies this evening. We do have a couple of leave of absence requests. The first one for Councillor Cheetah. Would someone like to move something in relation to that? Councillor Parkin, you'd like to move as on the screen. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Boyd. All those in favour, please indicate. That is carried unanimously. And then we have a second one for Councillor Mudge. It's from the 17th to the 20th. Councillor Huxley, you're happy? Oh, it does too. Good pickup. So we have Councillor Hux to move and Councillor Osterstock to second. All those in favour to please indicate. That is also carried unanimously. There is no one absent. Item 4, the minutes of the previous meeting. Would someone like to move something in relation to that? Councillor Herman. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Parkin. All those in favour please indicate. That is carried unanimously. We move on to declaration of conflict of interest by members of the council. Does anyone have a conflict of interest they'd like to declare? Just noting that if it's in relation to any membership nomination, that as there is no individual named in those at this point in time, you declare a conflict at the time, not now. Councillor Herman?
Yes, I have a couple. Where do I mark them? Hang on, I'll tell you in a minute. First one is the Audit and Risk Committee memberships. Possibly I have one there. Audit Committee 12.4, presiding member appointment. I will have one there. Possibly 12.5, either a general or material conflict in that one.
So the one to note at the moment, because there's no one written into the audit and risk items, but the Gummer Op Shop, do you want to indicate the nature of that conflict now or later?
I can do it now.
Sure.
I am a member of the Torrens Valley Lions Club, an active member of the Lions Club. The Lions Club is mentioned in the report as a possible to get an expression of interest from them. It's not mentioned in the resolution that's been circulated, so if that goes through, I would only have a general conflict and I would remain in the room. However, if that was changed, I would have a material conflict and would leave.
Okay, thank you. Any other conflicts at this point? Councillor Gladego?
Yes, thanks, Acting Mayor. Yes, I need to seek leave of the meeting for a personal explanation.
So just leave the meeting. Councillor Gladego is to make a personal explanation. Leave is granted.
Thank you. At the last council meeting held on the 28th of October 2025, item 12.4 concerned council expressing support for advocacy for a rate subsidy proposal for primary producers in response to ongoing drought conditions. As a primary producer who has been directly impacted by the dry conditions through the 24 and 25 calendar years, I now recognise that I should have declared a material conflict of interest in relation to this item and left the chamber while it was being considered. I sincerely apologise to my fellow councillors and the community for this oversight. I take full responsibility for not identifying and declaring the conflict at the time and acknowledge the importance of maintaining the highest standards of integrity in our decision-making processes. I believe it is appropriate to make this personal explanation at a council meeting as it reflects a standard of accountability and transparency that I am committed to. It is incumbent upon council and all councillors to uphold the model of the highest standards of governance. Moving forward, I ensure that any potential conflicts are properly identified and declared in accordance with our obligations. I remain committed to upholding the trust placed in us by the community and to supporting good governance practices in all aspects of our work. And I'd like to move a motion that this be minuted.
Sure. Happy to move that motion. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Huxter. Don't need to speak to the item. Anyone else? No. Okay. All those in favour to please indicate. That is carried unanimously. And thank you for making that statement, Councillor Gladego. Yes. Yes, Councillor Trescothick. So would you like to seek leave of the meeting to make a personal explanation as well?
Yes, please.
Sure. So leave of the meeting for Councillor Trescothick to make a personal explanation. Leave is granted.
Well, yes, similar to Councillor Gallagher, I realised retrospectively that item 12.4, as a primary producer within Adelaide Hills Council, I have a conflict of interest. So I should have removed myself, but didn't wasn't across it as well as I should have been. So, yeah, what do you need from me in regards to me?
And making a personal explanation, you can speak to it however you wish, ultimately.
Yeah, similar to Rick, I obviously want to make sure there's transparency in the council chamber, and I overlooked this one. I suppose I got a bit excited with the concept and thought the benefit it is for all businesses or all drought-affected farmers, and possibly overlooked the fact that it affected me as well, or was potentially a benefit to me if successful, the motion. So I'd like to note that I've got a conflict. I had potentially a conflict of interest and should have stepped out of the room when we were voting, but I missed that one, so apologies.
Thank you very much.
I'd like.
Would you like to move to have it minuted, or you don't have to? That's a personal choice.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Motion to have it minuted.
So you'd like to move to have your personal statement minuted, and Councillor Cheetah, you're happy to second. So just turn your mic off. Thanks. All those in favour, please indicate. That is carried unanimously as well. Okay, moving on to opening remarks. I think it's important that we acknowledge today's Remembrance Day, and I'd like to thank numerous elected members who took the time out of their day to attend various ceremonies. Unfortunately, I was unable to due to school commitments, but yeah, it's great that we're able to engage with the community to pause and take a moment to reflect and remember what is a very important day. I'd also like to just raise a few other matters, in particular Amy Gillett opening on Thursday, incredibly exciting opportunity. I hope some of you are able to make it there. Again, I know it's at a tough time being during work hours, but it's a really incredible project for us, and if you can't make it, just to go for a spin now without breaking the rules would be great. I will, yeah. Yeah. No, but no. I've got my bike top, but might just have some normal shorts. But anyway, we're getting off track. I also like to take the opportunity just to acknowledge Councillor Woolcock brought to my attention this afternoon about a number of South Australian businesses who won the SA Tourism Awards and are now off to the 2025 Qantas Australian Tourism Awards in Western Australia. And they include, in the category of adventure tourism, Woodhouse Adventure Park. And they are also, we're recognised at the state level for unique accommodation. And then we have the 5-star luxury accommodation of Sequoia Lodge at Mount Lofty as well, all going to the national award ceremony to represent our state, which is fantastic. The last thing, I just want to make the point that I think both Councillor Gladego and Trescothick making those statements is really important and fantastic to, I guess, show the community that we are committed to upholding the highest standards. And you know, for both of you being new elected members, I recognise that there's a lot of new information coming at you, and I think it's really fantastic, and I really respect that you made those statements just before. So item 7, there are no questions adjourned lying on the table and we do not have any petitions. We don't have any deputations, but we do, as always, have our public forum. Would anyone like to speak at the public forum this evening? Mr. Tate, you'd like to speak? Anyone else? Okay, you come up, you've got 5 minutes, which includes questions.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I just ask a request.
Should you just want to pop your mic on and then... No, no worries. Sure.
Just a request whether it's possible for me to record this myself.
I'll just see if anyone in the chamber is averse to that. No, that's fine.
Thank you. Well, thank you. I've been speaking here for a long time, and I think a lot of you are probably sick of me. Well, that's fine. What you have to do, I guess, we've got to take things into account of how you feel about certain matters. And I believe you all know that I'm very passionate about restoring Australia Day to the public. So I open up from a prepared statement that my name's John Tate from Birdwood, and I speak on behalf of the Adelaide Hills Council, ratepayers and residents action groups. Concerning Australia Day last year and this year, your council moved the dates to the 28th and the 24th days of January respectfully. This came about by a motion tabled on the 27th of July 2023, which was voted on, and it was at the time supported by 9 councillors out of 12. However, on both of these days, the first event, which was held at Gamaraka, and the second at Stirling, whereby the council failed to celebrate our great sovereign nation of Australia. My opinion is that to not celebrate it is totally undemocratic. It is un-Australian, and just that action on its own has caused great division and offence within our communities in the Adelaide Hills Council areas. This is not in accordance with the motion that was put forward that day. Why I've paused, because I want to make sure my facts, I actually hold the minutes up that anyone can have a look at and see for yourself that you only voted to move the date, and there's no mention about Australia Day. The other deeply concerning issue is that on these 2 days, citizenship and civic awards were presented to all recipients. They were not given a choice if they wished to receive them this year on the 26th day of January at one of the 4 major public events held last year, which were at Gamaraka, Woodside, Stirling and Uradla. And I hold up this full-page Courier ad to support my views. And on that point, I believe it's not right that whoever receives a citizenship or a civic award should have a choice when and where they want it presented, and you didn't give them any choice at all. And I finish up by saying this, and I hope that I never have to come back to this chamber again. It's now nearly 3 months since I put forward 3 separate opinions to fix this divisive issue, and to date I have not had a response from anyone. My last statement is, so the action from our group from this point on will be to lobby all councillors here to have a vote with a view to reinstate Australia Day celebrations and present Citizenship Civic Awards on the 26th day of January onwards. And I do thank all councillors, the CEO, the staff, for putting up with me for such a long period of time. But you can see that I'm very passionate, but not only me, the majority of ratepayers and residents in the Adelaide Hills out of 50 towns, 59 towns and areas.
Being a bit lenient, if you can just wrap it up.
Okay, I've just about finished. With petitions done, I really believe the evidence is overwhelming that the majority of people want to celebrate Australia Day on Australia. Thank you. And
Thank
any
you.
questions?
Thank you, Mr. Tate. Well, you did take up over the 5 minutes. I was a little bit lenient to let you finish,
you.
so there's not really time for questions. But given that there was only one person speaking in the public forum, I will allow a question if anyone has one. Councillor Herman?
Not to Mr Tate, but
Mhm.
the CEO. Mr Tate, you said you'd made submissions, but you hadn't had a response from the council?
He said he hadn't had response from councillors, I think. was
Council
the-
laws or council?
Well, any councillor or the CEO that was submitted back in August, and I gave 3 options to fix this matter, but I've never heard a peep. So
what's your,
the only way
can I ask
forward,
you a question?
Not quite.
the
I
only
understand
way
that-
forward is that we are going to lobby everyone here to reconsider their position and have a vote on it. I can't do the vote, but
Thank you. So I understand that. Councilman, what about the CEO?
So what's your question?
My question, has the CEO responded to the papers that Mr Tate has submitted?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Herman, and through you, Acting Mayor. That is a decision of council, not of the CEO.
In terms of the position. Thank you, Mr. Tate, for coming along. Appreciate you taking time out of your evening to come
thank
speak
you
with
very
us.
much.
So we'll move on to item 9, presentations. We do have a presentation this evening from Mr. Gregory from the Adelaide Hills Regional Waste Management Authority. If you'd like to come forward in a moment, you've got 15 minutes for your presentation plus an additional 5 for questions.
Thank you all, through Acting Chair. Really appreciate being here tonight, and thanks for the time to allow me to just touch on our annual plan or our annual report, I should say, from last year, our achievements last year, but importantly, looking forward to where we're heading. So, click through. Again, the acknowledgement of country, I won't go through that again, given it's already occurred. Our annual report is available online. Last year, I'm talking last financial year, was really a year of transformation and consolidation for the authority. If we go again, there was a number of key personnel changes. So our inaugural chair, Mr. Adrian Scull, who many of you will know, moved on. Paul Sandico has come on as the independent chair. Paul's been with us for 6 months now, and he's very impressive in what he's providing. Leah resigned. Everyone will know Leah Maxwell, or most people around this table will know Leah Maxwell, who was with the authority for a long time, and she had done an exceptional job at the authority and really took it through some tough times and structured it really well for myself to come on. And coming up to 12 months. Also had a change of representation from Adelaide Hills. Lucy, Councillor Huxter, decided that she didn't want to work with me anymore. So stepped away from the being Adelaide Hill representative, and we're really well supported now. And I must say Adelaide Hills is really well represented by Councillor Grant. He's very much in tune and constantly asking us questions, which is a very positive thing. So last financial year, there was a lot of foundational work done, which included the adoption of our 2034 strategic plan. Took a real shift to focusing on circular economy, and it's that first time, I think, formally we've recognised a move away from Adelaide Hills Regional Waste Authority being more than a landfill or more than just a resource recovery centre from a service delivery perspective to the community. So whilst that's still core and central to what we do and will be for a number of years, there is a great focus on collaboration and future growth. A regional education plan was also endorsed and is being rolled out, and really that is focusing on empowering communities, targeting regional growth. We well understand that councils like Adelaide Hills, you get educational support through East Waste as well, and so it's around an alignment with those programs rather than competing with them. And we also reviewed the Audit and Risk Committee terms of reference, so a lot of work done there. So around about 56,000 tonnes of material comes across our weighbridge each year. 43,000 tonnes of that ends up in landfill, and that hasn't varied a lot over the last few years. Through the resource recovery centres, apologies for the typo there in that last couple of dot points, but that's through both Brinkley Resource Recovery Centre and the Heathfield Resource Recovery Centre, and you can see on the right hand side there some of the tonnes that get dealt with. 136 tonnes of mattresses, that is a lot of mattresses, but there is a typo there as well. It should only be 36 tonnes, not 136. So we're not trying to make it better. Yeah, we're not trying to make it better than we are. One of the smaller elements in resource recovery, and it's certainly not going to solve the world's waste issues, but is really centrally important to what we do and why I've included it here, is the resource hub recovery walls that you may have seen through the libraries at Stirling, Woodside and Gumaraka. Stirling and Take a Bow by far is our highest performer, so some 300 kilos more than what we're getting at Murray Bridge, which is the next best, but really well supported and rolled out through Adelaide Hills Council. So Take a Bow with that. Whilst these aren't big tonnes, they're almost a gateway opportunity for people to start recycling and provide them with that opportunity. As I say, we're not going to solve the world's recycling issues or waste management through recycling of 338 kilos of X-rays through Stirling, but when you think about how many actual X-rays that is, the thought process that people have gone through to achieve that, it's actually a really positive thing. So these little hubs are critical, and it's typically what people cry out for is that ability to be able to sort some of that stuff. So great work to council, and we thank them for that support. From a financial perspective, we achieved an operating surplus of 142,000. It's a little down on what we were wanting to achieve. You can see in the table below that we didn't quite hit our target that we were hoping to achieve. We're about 75,000 off of that to get to the 2% minimum that we like to achieve in respect to that. Few things that cause that, which are highlighted there, but most of the other ratios were right. The asset renewal funding ratio was well down, and that was around a timing of some of the assets that we held over. So a landfill compactor, for instance, we actually held that over to the new financial year, so it adjusts the ratios in that respect. But both the board and management, we're really comfortable with where those ratios sit and how we're travelling. In terms of where we're going, we're taking a 30 to 50 year time frame with our planning at this point in time. So we recognise that we've got a financial model that relies heavily on landfilling. We've got a strategic plan that wants us to move into a circular economy, greater reuse of material, which is where we should go. But there's a disconnect between those two. So we've got to work towards bringing that in, creating different financial models and income streams as we go through. The authority historically was set up to be a landfill. Over the time, we've done that very well. There's certainly been some challenges, but that's been done very well. But it's really evolutionary now in what we're wanting to do. So we need to evolve. We need to work with where the industry's going as well. And if we think about it on a clock, the next 50 years, every hour is roughly 4 years in that process. So we're looking, and we'll come to you early next year with a charter review. We're looking at some significant changes in that space. But essentially, it's only that first hour in the next 12 hours that we're looking at having an impact in. But again, it's really foundational in that space. Thank you. We'll jump forward. So our key projects this year, we're really looking at launching that. There's a lot of work that we're doing in relation to setting ourselves up for that next 30 to 50 years. The key thing we're looking at is undertaking a site master plan at Brinkley. So it's really aiming to be a strategic piece of infrastructure for regional South Australia. So there's a great opportunity for us there. We talk about pivoting our financial model. We think that we can do some really good work in that space and certainly open us up for opportunities and partnerships as they come along. Currently, we lease that site from Murray Bridge, and that's what we'll certainly look to do in the short term. So we're working through a lease with Rural City of Murray Bridge at the moment. We've just signed off on hosting a waste operations officer at Mount Barker. So again, there'll be some great flexibility and far better integration in working with Mount Barker through that process. And it'll be a bit of a trial to see how we can roll that out to other councils if there's interest from them as well. We're looking at reviewing the resource recovery centres and how we manage those. Obviously, they're an asset of council, so Heathfield is owned by yourselves and we're largely guided from a service perspective from yourselves. But we want to challenge some of that and have a look at how we can potentially do it better, how we can integrate with some other services in the community and the like as well. So we'll hopefully come to you at the end of the financial year around some elements with that. The land tenure, I've spoken around whether we continue to rent or purchase. Landfill gas management and cell capping will continue. That's just part of what we need to do in managing the landfill. We've rolled out some member council reporting, which hopefully will come across your desks soon if it hasn't already. And as I mentioned, we're reviewing the charter. When I talk about some of those regional opportunities, the councils in the green are the regional councils that we currently do work with or receive their tonnes. So significantly larger area in that regional southeast of South Australia than our catchment area, but collectively that have less tonnes than Adelaide Hills. So it's a lot of work, but it also highlights how important Brinkley is as a site in managing those services. If there's not Brinkley, they've got to take them into Adelaide at significant more cost from a logistics perspective. So we're hoping we can aggregate there and really make a strong case for that. And we're working with a number of other councils in that space to improve it. I'll quickly fly through this, but yeah, this is some of the back end stuff that we're doing as well to strengthen the authority, what a lot of councils do in this space. But yeah, document management systems and staff onboarding processes, all critically important, but outward facing don't do a lot. If we jump forward. that is it from me. So happy to take any questions. I'm not sure how I'm travelling for time, so I
Yeah,
apologise.
fine. Yep. Councillor Lamb, you got a
Just
question?
a couple of questions. Thanks for your presentation. What is the estimated life of Brinkley
It's a very good question.
based on, say, current use?
I'll come back to you in March with that because we're looking at part of what we're wanting to do with the master plan is get a better guide around that. Indicatively, I think we've got at least 50 years there, plus or minus a few. But yeah, we'll have a better idea once we do the master plan.
Right, so we won't have to worry about that. That's good. Just if I got it right, you said 43,000 tonnes of waste, solid waste.
Yep.
How much did you pay to the government?
It's
done a number.
around $4 million.
And what do your member councils or you get in return for that? Do we get any grants or do you get grants?
Yeah, we do. So we work through Green Industries will regularly run grant-based programs, and we've been quite successful over previous years in getting them. So we've got 50% funding for a forklift at Heathfield for replacement, number of other elements, signage upgrades and so forth. In the scheme of things, it's a very small percentage of the $4 million that we pay on behalf of the member councils as part of the solid waste levy. But I think it's important to understand that the solid waste levy goes essentially into general revenue at the government. It's not quarantined for environmental projects or waste-related projects. It largely funds Green Industries, which as a government organisation do an exceptional job. And when you go to interstate conferences and so forth, a lot of people are jealous of the relationship that South Australian councils and businesses have with Green Industry. So I appreciate it's a conflicting one, and I don't think there's a perfect answer around the waste levy. A lot of what we do relies on having the waste levy. So organics collections and the bulk of your recycling doesn't stack up without the levy.
Thank you.
Councillor Mudge?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Yeah, you mentioned that you would your long-term plan is to move the organisation away from being a landfill organisation to being a genuine participant in the circular economy. What would you say is your number one challenge in doing that?
Monetising it, so making it effectively. I don't think anyone in the world has properly been able to make the economics behind a circular economy work almost as a standalone, and part of that is what we've got to do. And ultimately, it'll be a multi-pronged approach. So we're fortunate that I think we've got time on our side. But as I keep saying to staff and our board, we have to start pivoting now because it will take considerable years to do that. From a regional perspective, there's not a lot of growth in the tonnes. So yes, we'll have growth in populations at Mount Barker and Murray Bridge, particularly based on projections. But we're also going to have declines. So positive programs like the FOGO rollout that Adelaide Hills are looking at doing, that will have an impact on us financially. Overall, it's a good project and one that we certainly support. But yeah, it does impact us financially. So we've got to be smart around how we pivot as an organisation and the differing things that we do and services we offer to complement those activities.
Any final question? Councillor Grant.
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Gregory, for speaking to us, and certainly many of the matters you've mentioned will come to this chamber in not too short a period. These relevant matters, but just, I guess, fleshing out a little bit about the challenges facing the organisation with things like FOGO kicking off and maybe gaining momentum if it's a success we expect, and the growth of Mount Barker and now the growth of Murray Bridge. How how do you run a business in a rapidly changing situation, and how do you adapt to what, the quite radical changes to the amount of the volumes you'll be dealing with and the types of matter you'll be dealing with?
Yeah, look, I think it's a good question, and it builds on the last answer in that ultimately we've got to stay ahead of the curve, and as I keep saying, we will be landfilling, I think, conceivably and comfortably for the next at least 15 to 20 years, if not longer. I think landfill will always have a place, but as our main source of income, 75 cents in every dollar that we generate comes from landfilling, and that's the part that we need to rotate away from or get a better balance in. So I think it's multi-pronged, and it's picking up on different elements. So we're about to sign up Southern Mallee District Council to have their waste for 6 to 7 years. So being able to secure that is fantastic, but it's 650 tonnes a year. It doesn't even cover what we will lose from you guys through FOGO. So we've got to find other alternatives, and that may well be through differing financial models in the transfer stations, looking at things like we've recently rolled out doing environmental monitoring on closed landfills, managing that on behalf of the councils. So we've got the expertise in that area. We should maximise that. So if we can do that, if we can clip the ticket along the way, we'll be able to offset it and adjust that balance of where our revenue comes from.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. I'll allow one more question, Councillor Walcott. And Councillor Herman, if you could just turn your mic off. Thanks.
Hi, I'm one of the new councillors, so excuse me if this is a naive question. I was quite surprised by the amount received and then the amount that actually went to landfill, the low level of recovery. And then you're saying that you're actually, most of your profit comes from sending waste to landfill. So what incentives are there for you as a business to actually recover and not send to landfill?
Yeah, it's it's not a naive question at all. It's a really interesting question. So, as I say, for us and where we are located, one of our challenges is the logistics of what we do. So, if we were in or closer to metropolitan Adelaide, we would actually recover more material than we do, but the cost of recovery and transport typically makes it more expensive. And significantly more expensive than landfilling. So for us, there's always that balance. So a lot of our metals and organics and concrete and so forth, we will pull out because the weight, it's worthwhile. We're either able to recycle them ourselves and do minor processing, or the cost of metal, for instance, is attractive and it covers significant costs that occur in logistics. So it is a very, it's a vexed issue. If we go back to the landfill levy, the bulk of our councils, it's half of what the metropolitan rate is. So from a logistics perspective, it compromises the value of that. But on the other hand, we're not going to advocate for increasing a landfill levy that adds cost to rates and ratepayers. So there is always that fine line between the environmental side of what we're doing and the positive nature of that, and the harsh reality of the finances of the business.
Thank you very much for coming along tonight.
No worries.
Cheers.
Thank you all. So.
Okay, so we'll move on. Item 10, there are no questions on notice. There is a motion on notice from Councillor Herman.
Before I move that, Acting Mayor, could I pose a question to you?
Yes.
In your report, you mentioned that you met with Mayor Bim Lange of the Barossa Council on the 16th of October. Could you inform the Chamber what the nature of that discussion was?
That was instigated through some, there's been some engagement between the two administrations around, and it kind of came partly off the back of them obtaining that grant to extend their trail from Mount Pleasant right up to the council border. and we met for a couple of reasons. One, to have a strategic discussion about how we can collectively lobby to fill the gap between Birdwood and the edge of the council boundary, to get some photos for that, both in Lycra, Councillor Herman. No, I mean, they want to push it out there, and it's part of that bigger picture of the Great Australian Wine Trail, the idea of having that 280 kilometres from Clare all the way down into the Fleurieu. And given that we've recently obtained the grant along with them, it's really trying to build off that, gain more momentum and obtain more grant monies to continue on with that trail.
Thank you. I will now move the motion that's in my name, Amy Gillett, Bikeway final stage. And in moving that, in addition to my background information, strategically it is part of the wine trail from Clare to McLaren Vale, and it has the opportunity to have in the future spin-offs to, say, Mount Barker on Harndorf as spur lines. That's been talked about idly, I suppose, to be the correct description. The motion does not specify how the CEO prepares the study. For the Stage 4 extension, the CEO commissioned BRM Advisory to prepare a prudential review. Now, I don't know what, at this stage we don't know what the dollars are and whether a prudential review is necessary, but I'm sure the CEO will consider that option when he prepares his report. Since the Amy Gillett, what we've got now is approved, there may be other shared paths, and in the debate probably 2 years ago, I think Councillor Osterstock raised there's a shared use path down at Port Macdonald which was being constructed, and that's an option that the CEO could have a look at that to see if there's any similarities with our path. I guess the impetus of the motion is we make a start now in getting some hard facts together, some figures, feasibility, so that in the future, at some stage when we've got that information, two things, we can consider it in the long-term financial plan, which we only have a draft of, we haven't adopted that yet. And also it gives leverage that we can apply, perhaps jointly with the Barossa Council or whatever, we can apply for grants. I think the rest of the chamber really don't want to go through the process that we went through last time, where there was toing and froing, arguing this for about 3 years before we finally come to agreement. That argument should be had right up front so that all parties know where they stand. So I commend them. I did mention in the background about the section of Amy Gillett in Woodside that actually is on a council road. So it is workable. At the time when it was built, we did have no right to occupy the DIT land. We now have a lease over that. So at some future stage, and I'm not saying it should cloud this one because there is people are able to use that, but at some stage in the future that bikeway could probably be shifted back into the DIT land which we lease, and release the bike path as a footpath. So I commend the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Herman. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Grant, you're happy to second. Do you wish to speak to the item?
Just very briefly, thank you, Acting Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Herman, for this motion. I think this is well timed with the opening of the recently completed section happening this week. It's a good time to promote the next stage, and I think working in conjunction with the Barossa Council should give us leverage with the state government and hopefully the federal government. And plus, we're probably a lot better at this now, but the sooner we start, the better, and then the bikeway will finally be complete. So I thank Councillor Herman for the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Grant. Councillor Huxter, then Councillor Mudge. You have turned it off now. Councillor Huxter.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Yes, I wholeheartedly support this. I think it's very important that we maintain the momentum, especially considering potential state election commitments that might be coming up. It would be silly to slow down on this now. So thank you, Councillor Herman, for bringing it to the chamber.
Councillor Mudge.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I've got a question before I
Yeah, sure.
debate. The question is, was this particular leg from Birdwood to Mount Pleasant, was that part of the original envisaged Amy Gillett bikeway?
That, yes, it
Yep,
was.
okay.
It was the old Oakbank to Mount Pleasant, which was the terminus of that rail line. So there's no more after that. If there is, it forms part of the Riesling Trail or the Barossa
The
Trail
Barossa
or
one. Yeah.
the Leith Mudge Trail or something like that. You know.
Not that famous. Thank you, Acting Mayor. Yeah, look, I 100% support this motion. I think it's definitely important that we start our planning now. I guess my slight concern about it is the way that it's worded as being just the bit from Birdwood to Randall Road, Birdwood. I would like to see it done as a joint project between the Barossa and Adelaide Hills Council as one leg, basically, without necessarily sort of distinctions. Or like, I'd hate to see sort of, you get to Randall Road and it's bitumised up to Randall Road and then it's gravel from there onwards or something like that. It'd be good if it was done in such a way that it was just one single leg, basically. And I don't think this motion excludes that. I did have sort of in the back of my mind maybe some suggestions for changes to do that, but I don't think it does. I just think mentioning it is a good way to sort of give sort of some guidance on my thinking anyway. So yeah, I think it's a really good sort of concept, and I totally endorse the Adelaide Wine State Trail.
Great Australian Wine Trail.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, we had a presentation a couple of years ago now from the people who were advocating for that, and I think that would be a really, really good attraction to our entire region. I think it's very easy to underestimate the number of people that ride bikes and use these sorts of trails. It's potentially millions of people basically coming, and a lot of those people travel long distances, potentially even from overseas to ride some of these trails. So I heartily endorse this motion.
Would anyone else like to speak to the item? Councillor Grant, you had a question because you've already spoken. Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Just a question for the administration. Is it conceivable and worthwhile to have a collaboration with Barossa Council to design, promote, get funding and build as a collaboration? I imagine there might be efficiencies there, but it's just a thought.
Ms. Ballantyne, I think that was part of the nature of the conversations. But
So here's one we prepared earlier. So
just pop, yeah, in my.
Oh.
Oh.
It's on, it's on. Yeah.
That needs to be on. She's second in line after this one.
Oh, it might be that.
I think I'm on now. Yep. What was the question? What are we here for? No. We've actually commenced that work. We've had a really good session at the Birdwood Motor Museum with all the strategic administrative players with Barossa Council. Unfortunately, they understood the kind of value of their current project. So even though they've recently attracted funding, they're going to put it on hold until they obtain some more funds. They obtained those accurate costs for continuing on with a surface path from Adelaide Hills Council. So we sat with them in that session and went through it, and they've decided that's their objective, to continue the path in a consistent format, so they need to go and obtain some more funding. We've then gone further with that, and the former master plan that was undertaken for the Great Australian Wine Trail proposition, we've come together with that to complete that last section and then overlay it with a bigger picture. And we've got an in-principle agreement as two collective administrations to progress it collectively and bring in the Mount Barker Council should they agree to do so. So thank you for that question.
Thank you. Now, Councillor Gladigo, did you indicate you wish to speak?
I was going to ask a question, but I think it's
That
just been
answered it.
answered over because I did see in the history that the grant that Barossa Council had got was for a gravel type bikeway. So I take it then that's part of this discussion to make it all the same. So
Yeah, so I think they've got 400,000 and they thought that the additional fund would get them over the line for the asphalt path and it simply won't. So, and that's what they'd like to pursue.
Councillor Herman, right of reply?
Right of reply. Thank you. There seems to be support around the chamber, and if it is passed unanimously tonight, Acting Mayor, when you open Amy Gillard on Thursday, you might mention it to the policies that are there that we have endorsed a forward-looking plan, and we would welcome them to get into bed with us. Well, not
Councillor
literally.
Part of the media release does actually refer to the Great Australian Wine Trail and that bigger picture of what we're wanting to contribute to.
Thank you.
With the debate closed, all those in favour to please indicate. That is carried unanimously. We will move on to the administration reports. So the first one being the Boundary Change Committee membership appointment. So the first thing I'll do is seek indications of who'd like to nominate. If there's equivalent or less than the positions available, we will not adjourn the meeting. However, if there's more, I'll look to adjourn the meeting and hand it over to the administration. So first step is who is interested in nominating. So I've got Councillor Grant, Councillor Osterstock, Councillor Mudge. Anyone else? I'm popping my hand up. That's it. So we have 4 nominees for 5 positions, which means we do not need to adjourn the meeting. So with that in mind, does anyone have a conflict of interest they'd like to declare? Yes, Councillor Mudge.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Yeah, I believe that I have a general conflict of interest on this one because there's no extra benefit paid from this. However, it's probably a good idea given it could be classed as having a benefit anyway, that I leave the chamber.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Grant?
Am I right in thinking I have a material conflict of interest because there's a material change by being on the committee? No, general. Okay. I'll have to redo my form now.
Well, it's up to you what you declare. I'm declaring a material conflict myself.
Okay, even though you don't have a material benefit.
Well, I'll declare my conflict and then you can choose. So I'm declaring material conflict of interest given that I'll be appointed to the committee, and from my perspective I have potential to gain a personal benefit or loss dependent on the outcome of the decision, given that I could then use that role or that position as a way of status or something along those lines. So I feel it best fits that aspect of conflict, even though there's not a monetary benefit. It's not limited to that. So I'll leave the room in a moment.
Yeah, thank you. Well with that guidance, that confirms my view. I have a material benefit because of the high esteem that I'll gain from being on this committee. So I'll leave the room.
Thanks. Councillor Osterstock.
I don't even know if it is a material or a general, but I'll declare a general conflict of interest and leave for this particular item. Is that?
So the general conflict of interest wording is that an impartial, fair-minded person might consider that the council member's private interests might result in the member acting in a manner that is contrary to their public duty, whereas a material conflict of interest is that you would gain a benefit or suffer a loss, whether direct or indirect, and whether of a personal or pecuniary nature, so it doesn't have to be monetary, depending on the outcome of the consideration. So I'm personally saying that my conflict's more aligned with material, but it's up to the individual.
Oh, look, if everyone's declaring an interest, it's ludicrous for me to stay in the chamber. I'll declare a material conflict of interest in leave.
Okay, thanks.
But I think we need to get some advice on this because, yeah,
That I mean, that's kind of somewhat what's written into the report.
yeah, okay.
I'm going to go now.
Hey. Oh, there's lots of screens up here. Okay, so I think all I need to ask is if someone has something they'd like to move. Councillor Herman.
I will move decision 1, that we note and receive and note the report, and 2, to appoint Councillors Mudge, Osterstock, Grant and Acting Mayor Nathan Daniels as members of the Boundary Change Committee from December 1 until next year. So it's only a 1-year appointment. That's correct, isn't it? Yeah. So I'll move that.
Thank you. And someone to second it? Councillor Cheetah had his hand up. Did anyone want to debate the item? Did you want to talk? Sorry, Councillor Cheetah. Would anyone like to debate the item? Do you need a right of reply?
Not necessary.
Show your hands of those in favour. That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Because they could get personal gain, you could get personal gain because you could next year elect you and say, I was positions you might I don't see it as a
Okay. So moving on to item 12.2, which is the Boundary Change Committee presiding member appointment. First thing I'll do is to seek nominations for that role. Do I have any nominations? We have one nomination, Councillor Osterstock. Given that there's only one nomination, I will not look to adjourn the meeting. Therefore, you may want to...
I'll declare a material conflict of interest with this particular item, given that I will receive a monetary benefit attached to this position. So I'll vacate the chamber.
Thank you, Councillor Osterstock. Okay, would someone like to move something in relation to this item? Councillor Grant?
Yeah, I'd like to move as on the screen, or appoint Councillor Osterstock to this position. Put in the microphone. Yeah, just briefly, Councillor Osterstock's performed this role admirably. He's very well acquainted with all the issues involved, and I think he's served us well in the past and will in the future.
Thank you, Councillor Grant. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Huckster, do you wish to speak to the item? Anyone else wish to contribute? If not, then I'll put the vote. All those in favour to please indicate. That is carried unanimously. Someone can get Councillor Osterstock to return to the chamber, thanks. Okay, we'll move on to item 12.3, the Audit and Risk Committee Council Member Appointment. So again, the first thing I'll do is seek an indication of who's interested in nominating for being on the Audit and Risk Committee. Councillor Herman, Councillor Gladigo. Anyone else wish to nominate? No, that's all. Then I will not seek to adjourn the meeting again. Councillor Herman?
I will declare a general conflict of interest in that, as a fair-minded person might see that I have a conflict between my public and private duties, and I will leave the chamber.
Thank you. Councillor Gladego?
Yes, thanks, Acting Mayor. I will declare a material conflict of interest and will leave the chamber.
Thank you very much. Councillor Cheetah, what would you like to do?
I'd like to move decision 1 with names of Councillor Herman and Councillor Gladego inserted, please.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Parkin? No debate. All those in favour to please indicate. That is carried unanimously. I wonder if they spoke loud. Okay, we'll move on to item 12.4, the Audit and Risk Presiding Member appointment. We have had confirmation of a nomination from Ms. Pamela Lee, who's already on the Audit and Risk Committee as an independent member. Is that the only nomination we have? Thanks. Thank you for coming along. Do you wish to speak to the chamber? Because if I do, I might just seek to suspend meeting procedures, because some people don't know Ms. Pamela Lee. Would you like to do that?
Acting Mayor, I'm more than happy to speak, but I'm also happy to take any questions.
Okay. Does any elected member have a question for Ms. Lee? No, you might not need to then. Would you like to speak to the chamber? Sorry, I know I'm getting very procedural and formal, but I'd just like to seek leave of the meeting to suspend meeting procedures just to allow Ms. Lee to speak briefly. Thanks. Leave is granted.
Thank you. It's a while since I used one of these. Look, I have submitted an expression of interest together with a board level CV. I understand that you've all received a copy of that. Look, I'm really passionate about local government. There's no other level of government that puts themselves out there as much as local government does in terms of their annual business plan, their strategic suite of plans, their